Welcome. Here is the next instructional video, English 102, Lower Columbia College. It is April the 22nd at about 1300 hours. I am back with you again wearing one of my favorite shirts to show you that feminists come in all shapes, sizes, ages, and hair colors, and skin colors, and sexual identities, and yeah, I could think of all sorts of other labels, but I decided to split this video into two in an attempt to keep it relatively short, but again, trying to mirror my instruction in the classroom and not provide you with more than 5 hours of instruction via video per week. And I don't think I'll come close to 5 hours. Of course, honestly, I never lecture for 5 hours with this class during a week anyway. We do group work, we do discussion, you do work as a solo person, and so it's going to be a lot of the same in an online classroom. But one of the big assignments that we have coming up is the research project pitch, in which you have to pitch a variety of ideas that you're thinking about for your research project. And it says 3 to 5 ideas. 5 is better than 3. More than 5 is good too. And you have to do more than throw the idea out. You have to have done a little bit of research. And the hope is that you have an inspiring item, and that you found something that inspired your curiosity, your passion, your interest, and it is the entry point into the subject. It might not be the subject itself, but it could ultimately be a source for the subject, or at the very least, something that sort of grounds your thinking. And so today I want to talk a little bit about my experiences last semester with students and the subjects that they came up with. And then I want to walk you through the pitch assignment and sort of talk about it just like I would do in the live classroom. And then in part 2, I'll talk a little bit more about narrowing the idea and coming up with a research question and some of those things. One thing though to make absolutely clear, and it is in a blog post that I'll share with you, is the difference between the words subject and topic. So I'm going to be very careful to use the word topic exclusively in the same way we use it as the word topic sentence. A topic sentence is the first sentence of a paragraph in the body of an essay. And as such, those topics are part of a larger subject, part of a global main idea of what I call the whole enchilada. So I'm going to use the word subject for the whole thing. And I'm going to use the word topic for parts of the subject. All right. So one thing that immediately I can tell you about is a lot of the ideas that students came up with last semester that were either ultimately unsuccessful as good research projects or were risky choices in terms of whether they were going to be successful. And one of the tests of whether or not you're going to be successful with a research project is it going to become ultimately some kind of an argument that is going to have a call to action, so it changes the reader, so that it's directed at a particular reader, a particular audience, and it prompts that audience into action. Okay, and so here are some of the subjects I had that were either not successful or were risky. Serial killers, super popular. Lots of students seem to be interested in writing about serial killers. Dreams. I must have had close to a dozen people possibly be interested in writing about dreams, and I don't do duplicates, so only one person got to, but a whole bunch of people listed it as a potential subject. Area 51 came up a lot. Traumatic brain injury came up frequently. The death penalty, gun control, and anxiety. These were all ideas that either a student chose and didn't manage to carry off a successful project, or a student chose and had trouble, had difficulty, struggled to carry off a successful project. And so another example is I had two, and I'm doing this, you know, without showing you stuff at the moment, because I've been watching some videos and noticed that just showing you text and talking over it isn't always the best method. I'm going to go to that here in a sec. But I had two students sort of want to write about conspiracy theory. One came at it from the point of view of wanting to write about the JFK assassination, and the other one came at it from the point of view of wanting to write about the zombie apocalypse. And I directed them both to investigate conspiracy theories. The zombie apocalypse student more toward apocalyptic scenarios. Why do these fascinate us? And the JFK assassination student toward conspiracy theories specifically. Why do those things fascinate us? And pushing toward this idea of depth and complexity, because both of those ideas sounded like they'd just ultimately be an informative thing. You know, just telling us about stuff regarding either of those subjects, as opposed to answering some kind of a research question. Even the question, who killed JFK, isn't necessarily interesting enough to propel an entire research project and develop the kind of depth and complexity that we're looking for, right? So it's all about thinking in terms of complex ideas, and having a unique idea. You know, so lots of these ideas are sort of run of the mill. And I'm going to be even stricter in the classroom in terms of not approving ideas that I don't think are unique enough. And so that brings us to this. And I'm actually going to zoom it up here, make it bigger, so that I make sure it's visible enough on the screen. But I've been thinking a lot about doing writing of my own. Can I make myself bigger? Does this become bigger? Oh, hey, I can make me bigger. I like that. All right, well, that's big enough. So I like the idea of writing about the protest that Colin Kaepernick started when I was suggesting ideas to students originally. And right now in current events, this just came up in a news broadcast I watched, in which a CNN news broadcaster said to the current administration, don't criticize peaceful protest and the right of individuals like Colin Kaepernick to take a knee peacefully, quietly, unobtrusively at a football game, and criticize them for doing that. And then praise people that bring guns to a protest about being forced to stay home because there's a global pandemic and they can't go get a haircut or play golf. You know, these things have some sort of equal status, and yet there's differences. And I thought that was pretty fascinating. I think there's potentially an idea there. Protests could be a subject, you know, start using one or two protests, you know, or comparing protests. That's a possibility. So you can since I might want to reuse this, I'm not going to focus on the deadlines, because if I do end up using this in a future semester, the deadlines that I show will be different. So if this is a future semester, you know, look at yours. Your deadlines will be different, but the first post will still be the first post, and the first post will be to have 3 to 5 ideas. 5 is better, more than 5 is good, that start with some sort of inspiring item, some kind of an inspiring item that comes from some kind of content, video, an article, a movie, documentary, something like that. And then locking down, after getting feedback both from me and from other students, into the idea that you'll choose. And it'll say this later in the document, but I'll say it right here for emphasis. Don't put your ideas in any order. Don't put your favorite at the top. Put them in a random order, so that when people put them in order for you and tell you which ones they like best, it is not motivated by what you prefer. And try to write them in a way that we don't know which one you prefer, if you prefer one over the other, all the others. Try to find 5 ideas where you're torn. I had a student last semester that was really torn between writing about whether we're addicted to pornography and writing about the healing power of humor and laughter. I thought both of them were really had good potential. So, you know, I'd love for you to be torn between these ideas, okay? So it's not necessary for you to come up with a research question at this stage, but it could be super helpful. I had a student last semester that listed all of her ideas as research questions, and it really gave us a good idea of what the potential argument might be. So start thinking in those terms as you write your description. So I want to give due credit to Amber Lemire, who came up with a lot of these ideas, and I borrowed a lot of these from her, though I've made a lot of changes, just like everything I do with my content, and make it my own. But we're a big sharing, caring department here at Lower Columbia College, and I like to acknowledge that. You know, so speaking of protests, you know, I like activism. I like injustices. In English 101, I direct students to write about an injustice. So that's where I used a lot of this same content. So choose some ideas that you care about and inspire your curiosity. And I'm not going to read this all to you, so I'm just directing you. I'm just sort of giving you a tour of this. You read it. You know, but I often find that with all of this guidance, students get overwhelmed. So I thought that a video to take you through it. In fact, you could be looking at it while I'm showing you the video. So that might help you to understand it better. And it's what I do in the classroom. So pick something you care about and that inspires your curiosity. Pick something that has legs. It's got somewhere to go. It's got some kind of a depth. And when I go into other examples, I can talk about how the germinating part that you have might take you somewhere else. It might just be part of a larger subject, kind of like JFK assassination takes us into conspiracy theory. And then it's unique and original. You know, we want something that's unique and original. We don't want these humdrum ideas. And we want something that's arguable. You know, you can make an argument, and I will push for all the arguments to be of a problem solution structure, so that ultimately the argument is a call to action, that you're arguing for a call to action. So you can read a lot of this text. There's some examples here, like I give an example here on unique and original. You know, that's what this text is for. All right, so you gotta spend some time prepping these assignments. You know, don't be daunted or scared by this amount of prompt text. You know, it's meant to help you and give you lots of things to think about and explore. And then ultimately, I'm not going to allow any duplicates. So after you propose 3 to 5 ideas, you get feedback from other students, you get feedback from me, then you're going to have to pick one, and we'll make a list, and there won't be any duplicates. And so actually, people who are first to the party, when I let them pick, you know, get, you know, the popular ideas first, which I'm hoping to derail. I hope we don't have any struggle over the same subjects like we did last semester. So some other inspiring content. Farther down, I have a veto list and some ideas that I'm going to dissuade you from writing about, as I already did with some of my verbal ideas. So last semester, we read a book called The Radical Evolution, and I encourage students to write about the technologies in that book, like artificial intelligence or nanotechnology, and some students did, and cloning was one. It was interesting. So if this kind of stuff inspires you, check out this article, Why the Future Doesn't Need Us. This could give you some ideas. This could be a good direction. Otherwise, and I'll be talking about this more in part 2, TED Talks, conversations you have with people. I got some of my ideas when I came home one day and my wife sat me down and made me watch 2 or 3 TED Talks with her. Netflix documentaries, YouTube is a little less of a good way to go to find ideas. It can give you a lot of junk. Same with a Google search, but there's some things out there. So ask questions. Quartz Magazine. So I'm going to give you a bunch of different places to look for stuff. Quartz Magazine, and then you know, when I popped on Quartz Magazine right away, I found this about algorithms, which I was immediately interested in. So that would be one of my ideas, if that were you. So then I got a bunch of samples here. I'm not going to read through all of these with you, but you know, look at these, see if any of them spark your interest. And then, of course, after you write your pitch, you know, students will get in and share their reactions. But this sort of breaks down how to write. You know, list in no order, as I already told you. Describe. Does it have legs? Is it unique? Is it arguable? You know, a research question at this stage would be great if you can think of one. Provide hyperlinks, you know, so not only do you have an inspiring content, but then you do some additional quick research and look up a bunch of other things that are related to what you started with. And then develop more than 3 to 5 ideas, you know, because there is the chance with my stricter method that I'll veto all of them. I didn't do this to anyone last semester. I don't expect it to happen, but you know, it's never a bad idea to have more. In the past, when I taught this, had students come up with 10 ideas, but I didn't have them generate all this content for them. It was just basically a list of short phrases. So here's a couple of samples for what these things could look like. So this is definitely something to look at. I'm not gonna read these over to you, but there's 2 samples here, and you see they got the hyperlinks. And then this talks about how to respond to each other. Definitely spread the love. So look for people that have 0 replies when you go to reply, and it gives you very specific things to do. You choose your favorite pitch. You give people suggestions and questions. You know, you find the additional source for them. You know, it gives you specific things to do. So do those things. Always the fun visuals. I'm always going to give you the fun visuals. So then abortion is my #1 vetoed idea. I will not accept any variations on this idea. With everything else, I could be talked into it. This is a subject I can't read about. I don't want to read about it, and I hope you can respect my feeling to not read about it. I would allow you to opt out if there was something, you know, in a class assignment where you're sharing with other students and they're writing about something that upsets you or goes against your fundamental core belief system, allow you to, or is triggering for you. Certainly anything that would be triggering for you, I'd allow you to opt out of. So for the same reason, please opt out of writing about that for me. But these other things just don't necessarily generate good papers. But if you have an idea, put it in and we'll see. I added COVID-19 here because I'm really concerned about getting 20 projects on variations of this. I'm also concerned about hate speech and racism and other sorts of things that could be part of this you know, current event that we're living right now, you know, you gotta be careful if you choose it. And of course, I've now dated this video, so if I want to use it after the pandemic, you know, it would be this very upsetting thing we lived through. But we could be living through this for another 1.5 years, so I could use this video for a while. And then I had some more ideas. So I got tons of ideas. You know, so usually students don't want an idea. Usually when students write me and say, I can't think of what to write about, I can't think of what to put in this assignment, what they really want me to do is look into their soul with my secret superpowers and figure out the exact perfect subject that will make them super happy that they can't think of, but that's inside them somewhere, and identify that for them. And then they're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I want to write about. And I don't have that superpower. Frequently, you know, like given students an idea where I already have a source. You know, it's like, okay, here's an idea, because that's what this is, right? Here's an idea, here's an article, and they rarely want to go there. I'm interested in pretty much anything. You can't find a subject I'm not interested in, but honestly, you know, you're going to be able to identify the things that I am very interested in. You know, and some students like to kiss up by trying to pick something they know I like, thinking that will get them a better grade. It's not going to. I'll tell you that right now. But I certainly have often liked the investigations that students did on things that I care about. Like that doesn't mean that I you know, disliked other papers on things I care about less, because honestly, I care about everything and I'm interested in everything. But Last semester, among my favorite subjects happen to be the same ones that I personally love, such as depiction of gay people in movies and books and television shows, depiction of women and women's sexuality and living in a rape culture, in movies and video games and TV shows. Japanese anime versus American influences, controversy in art. These, are we addicted to pornography? Is the funeral industry a scam? Where did the Bible come from? And what's the deal with these Dead Sea Scrolls? Is fracking bad for the environment? What should we do about the black market and organ donation? These were among, it's off the top of my head. I probably forgot some that were also good. Not that any of you were my students last semester, but so more ideas here at this blog link for Reason Magazine, Slate, Salon, Bitch Media, which is a local concern. You should definitely check out if you're interested in feminism, Bitch Media. So at this link, and it's what I've used in English 101, so it's got direction for that assignment, but it's got the content, not necessarily your assignment. But then I also went through 4 other sites that I've either recently found or use a lot, and right away found great articles. Inverse, this is a great site. Tech eroded sleep quality in the 1800s. Can it restore it 200 years later? That immediately sparked my interest. That could be the start of a really great subject. It might not ultimately be about sleep. Maybe it would end up being about other things. Tech, it might be about tech. Black Lives Matter, of course, is huge for me. Love isn't what it once was. Didn't Disney films and the subversion of romance or anything happily ever after? I love criticism of media product, particularly Disney. So remind me to ruin Little Mermaid for you later. And Pretty Woman. Don't forget that. It's sort of Disney. It's a subsidiary company. Or Quanta. Why are black holes so bright? And why is the black hole at the center of our own galaxy so dim? That fascinates me. I don't know about you, but I like space, and that's very focused, and that's a very interesting research question. But I don't know if there's an argument there, but so there's some additional stuff. Here's Amber's thing directly that I borrowed this from. Here's some of videos that Amber shared, and then I'm continuing with the Sesame Street thing that I shared the other day with the mashup of The Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony. So in part 2, we'll dig in here, and we'll talk about narrowing subjects and the research question. I'll share this blog entry with you here in the notes, but it's going to get into a bunch of stuff about choosing, about looking at documentaries. You can look it over if you want. There's a music mix that goes with it. You can play while you're watching. If you're interested, it's at the bottom. But mushrooms, I should put another picture in here because the other one is Surveillance Society. And then introversion in the brain. So I should add some other visuals here to make this a little better. The music mix is down here at the bottom, by the way, if you want that accompanying soundtrack. So those are our things today to get you thinking. Write your pitches. Really interested to see what you're going to come up with. We'll be back for part 2, which should be within the next day or two. So thank you so much. See you around the classroom. Bye.